The man who walked away from power. Before America had laws. Before it had a constitution. Before it even had a name. There was George Washington. He did not seek fame. He did not crave power. Yet history placed the fate of a nation on his shoulders. He could have been a king. Instead, he chose to be a citizen. This is the story of the man who didn't just lead America's birth. He defined what leadership should be. George Washington was born on February 22, 1732, in Virginia, into a colonial world still under British rule. His family owned land, but they were not aristocrats. When George was just 11 years old, his father died. From that moment on, childhood ended early. Young Washington learned responsibility before comfort. Discipline before freedom. Duty before desire. He never attended college. He never traveled to Europe. But he had something else. Unshakable character. As a teenager, Washington trained as a surveyor, traveling through harsh wilderness. The frontier taught him endurance, leadership, self-reliance. He dreamed of honor and recognition. And that dream pulled him toward war. In his early 20s, Washington joined the British military during the French and Indian War. He made mistakes. He learned hard lessons. He witnessed death. He felt fear. But he also learned how armies move, how leaders fail, and how courage is forged under pressure. This experience would later save America. After the war, Washington returned to Mount Vernon, becoming a farmer and landowner. He married Martha Custis, gaining stability and wealth. For a time, he wanted a quiet life. But history had other plans. As Britain tightened control over the colonies through heavy taxes, unfair laws, military force, Washington grew uneasy. He wasn't radical. He wasn't reckless. But he believed in one thing deeply. Liberty should never be taken for granted. When peaceful protest failed, revolution became inevitable. In 1775, the colonies chose George Washington as commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. It was an impossible task. His army was poorly trained, poorly equipped, often unpaid. They faced the strongest empire on earth. Defeat seemed certain. The winter of 1777–78 at Valley Forge nearly broke the army. Men froze. Men starved. Men deserted. Washington stayed. He walked among his soldiers. He shared their suffering. He earned something priceless. Their loyalty. Through discipline, patience, and strategic brilliance, Washington held the army together. Small victories built hope. And finally, in 1781, at Yorktown, the impossible happened. The British surrendered. America was born. Here is where Washington became immortal. After winning the war, he could have seized power. Many wanted him to be king. He refused. Instead, he resigned his commission and returned home. The world was stunned. King George III reportedly said, "If he does that, he will be the greatest man in the world." America needed unity. So Washington was elected the first president of the United States. Unanimously. He didn't rule like a king. He built the presidency. The peaceful transfer of power. A government based on restraint. He served 2 terms. Then he stepped down, again. Setting a standard that shaped American democracy forever. In December 1799, George Washington fell ill. On December 14, he died quietly at Mount Vernon. America mourned. Not just a leader, but a moral compass. George Washington taught the world that power should be temporary. Leadership requires humility. Freedom demands sacrifice. He did not conquer nations. He built one. And when history offered him a crown, he chose a republic. If this documentary moved you, like the video. Comment what leadership means to you. Subscribe for more emotional American history documentaries.